We've seen that a lot of you enjoy watching these videos while eating, so we thought we'd give you a video that would pair perfectly with that. Just don't expect a video you can be doing this to anytime soon. So we hope you got something to eat in front of you because we're going to be going through the funniest food-related moments in Family Guy. And we of course have to start with an iconic food moment from Barely Legal that permanently altered our vocabularies forever after hearing it.
You can't have a pie without Cool Whip. Cool Whip? Cool Whip, yeah.
Regardless of the butchering of the English language, Stewie is speaking facts. A nice little dollop of cream on top of a hot pie is a heavenly combination. But is it enough to make a hair pie any more palatable? I don't think there's a topping that exists that can save that nightmare.
Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. You're eating hair!
And you may think yourself to be too smart to be lured by candy, but as James Woods demonstrates in Back to the Woods, few mortals can resist the temptation of a trail of Reese's Pieces.
Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a piece of candy.
Look, everyone has their vices. Mine is betting online when celebrities are gonna die, and James Woods's just happens to be tiny chocolate and peanut butter candies. Really thought his would have been some kind of narcotic. These Hollywood types are strange creatures.
Okay, Brian, next time let's remember this right away because he's done this twice.
And the episode Encyclopedia Griffin reminds us just how addictive hot wings can be, and how careful one should be to not overdo it.
Oh, why did you let me do this, Lois? Why?
Hot sauce is like scientifically designed to turn your stomach into Chernobyl, and yet it tastes so good that you don't mind putting your hand back on the hot stove just for another bite. But this was all just training, a small preview to what Peter would have to experience years later when he would go on hot ones. Past generations became men through war. Nowadays, you get your hair on your chest from a little bit of da-bomb.
Scott, will you excuse me for a second?
It's Sean, actually.
I don't care, I need a moment.
And Mother Tucker reminds us of a particular candy that you should not put a single digit on unless it's your own.
Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger. Dough!
This may be the only candy we can think of whose slogan is a threat. Unfortunately, telling us not to do something only makes us want it more. But this whole cutaway is of course mocking the Butterfinger commercials The Simpsons did from the 80s to the 2000s. I think Stewie was just mad it would take them a few more years to become complete sellouts too.
Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
And the saying goes that you are what you eat, which as we're shown in The Candidate, can come in handy if you need to leave the house undetected.
Hi, Dad. I'm a waffle.
Peter, you're not going to the clam, are you?
Waffle?
And no one suspects a thing. It's the perfect disguise, but you do have to think about how you're supposed to get out of this when you're tired of being a waffle. If that's even possible. I guess Peter might be stuck in a life where he either has to eat himself out or suffer people constantly asking him what he's waffling about. And the episode Saturated Fat Guy is home to a whole assortment of foods, from the good to the bad to the insults to God himself.
It's quinoa.
Nope, I don't eat foods that sound like karate words.
So Lois attempts to inject some healthy eating into the household, but if it isn't doused in butter, deep fried, and comes at the expense of an animal, you might as well be feeding Peter poison.
Quinoa.
Sorry, sir, we're full. Come on in, gummy bears!
So Peter sets out to find some real food. You know, things with copious amounts of sugar, food dyes, and preservatives, just like our forefathers ate.
What's going on, man? You pregnant?
Now, my wife watched that food documentary.
And with so much junk food and so little time, Peter decides to combine it all into one obscene sandwich that sounds like the last meal of a maniac.
Peanut butter cup Dorito sausage carb panini. And let's crack a Cadbury egg over the whole thing.
How about we don't and just say we did? That monstrosity sounds like it'd kill you in one bite, but it turns out that people other than Peter actually seem to like it.
Wow, Peter, that's good. That's real good.
Apparently it's an aphrodisiac as well. Getting a little handsy there, Cleveland. I promise you that the car doesn't need to stink any more than it already does. A couple of other guys catch a whiff of it and even pay Peter to have one. They may think it's good, but I only trust the opinions of the highest chefs. Binging with Babish, what do you think of it?
I don't know how you guessed, but this is a really gross sandwich.
And you didn't have to stick a chocolate peanut butter hot dog in your mouth to come to that conclusion. But Peter sees it as a sign to start up his own food truck, creating menu items that could only be concocted after several concussions.
Mostly hamburgers where the buns is jelly donuts, and drinks where hot dogs is the straws.
As delightful as it sounds to be drinking a milkshake through a tubed pig rectum, I'm pretty content with never having to experience a single food item on his menu.
I'll have the Swedish fish tacos.
You want the can of chili dumped on top or on the side?
You know, if you just called all of this experimental art, it would probably be a lot more understandable. But as it turns out, the town actually quite likes the slop he's cooking up in that truck.
All right, I got a bowl of cereal that's M&M's and Dr. Pepper.
Over here.
I think battery acid would be less corrosive than that. All this unhealthy food gets Peter kicked out of the house, but the truck offers him everything he could ever need, like grape soda to wash his face and whipped cream to brush his teeth with. This truck is like a dentist's El Dorado, just a gold mine of withering, rotting teeth waiting to be pulled out. I'll give him props for getting creative with his meals, but if he didn't stop, he was bound to become one of those artists who died at the height of their art. And Halloween on Spooner Street managed to capture that little thrill of spilling out your candy at the end of Halloween and taking in what you got. But usually you don't have to worry about copyright laws when you do it.
Okay, I'll have a Mr. Whippo bar, a Kooky Nut Pop, some Jim & M's, a Zip Zap.
I'd be more concerned about eating these things I've never heard of than finding a razor and a candied apple. They kind of sound like stuff a dispensary would sell, so you can get zooted while still eating something that tastes good. Either way, these candies pretty much have the same destination, to a bowl on top of the fridge that'll be forgotten about in a month or two.
God, I hate television.
And Peter gets a few letters mixed up in Gronkowski's when he ends up having breakfast in bread rather than breakfast in bed.
Hi, Lois. It's a great morning, no matter how you slice it.
He's not even eating his food off his bread body. Either commit to the bit all the way or don't even do it, man. Though I probably wouldn't want a slice of bread caked in body hair, which makes me think this is less a practical thing and more a brief moment of psychosis.
I'm taking the kids and I'm staying at my parents' for a while.
That's the yeast of my concerns.
And Cheez-Its can be so addicting that Bonnie sometimes needs to hide them from Joe, using a place he'd never suspect in Meg's wedding.
She hides my food so I don't get bored like a zoo polar bear. Good luck, they could be anywhere.
Come on, Joe suffered enough in his life. If he becomes obsessed with eating Cheez-Its, it's not the worst thing that could happen to him. So what if they go straight to his thighs? But there's an even holier version of Cheez-Its out there, one ordained by the big JC as seen in Foreign Affairs.
Do you want to enjoy all the body of Christ without the boring paper-like flavor? Well, now you can, with Cheez-Its!
Finally, a much better representation of Jesus than those gross wafers they usually use in communion. Why would they do Jesus dirty like that? Shouldn't you want people excited to accept the body of Christ? A little bit of cheese certainly isn't going to crucify anyone.
Think of me when you eat this. I'm delicious.
That was Jesus who just said that.
And when the guys wake up in the hospital to a seemingly empty world and forget-me-not, Peter knows the one food designed to bring people out of hiding.
I'm gonna open up this bag of Chex Party Mix. If people don't show up, then we're it.
Well, I guess that means everyone really is gone, which means the guys are safe to eat all the good stuff out of the Chex Mix. Leave those dry rye chips for the birds. We as a society have evolved to the point where we can leave those things in the past. And when the family tries to do a build-your-own pizza night in Bender Blockbuster, it becomes apparent that the best way to enjoy a pizza is when it's made by someone else.
Everyone gets their own crust, and you can choose from any of the items I put out, huh?
I think the key to these things being a success is doing it with people you actually like. Otherwise, you're just doing manual labor when someone down the road can do it for you. That's Peter's thought process, and he decides to make things a lot more appealing.
Yeah, I'm putting a Domino's pizza on my pizza.
Domino's. We're both terrible and better than your pizza.
And later in the episode, Peter decides to divvy up their candy when they get lost in the woods, but it's clear he wants a very specific candy.
Red for me, yellow for you, pink for you, red for me.
You keep giving yourself all the reds.
Not sure what his obsession with the red ones is, especially when the yellow ones have always been the best. This is a fact proven by science, and I am not open to debates down in the comments. But seriously, he might have an addiction. Red Dye 40 is a heck of a drug.
Next food, spree. Green for you, orange for you, red for me.
And speaking of Starburst, Peter's given one by a very trustworthy water park attendant and dearly deported.
Just eat this Starburst.
Wow, lemons, oranges, cherries.
Well, that is how candy makes you feel in the commercials. But if you're experiencing these kinds of visions in real life, you may want to double check what you just had. It's not the kids who need to be worried about narcotics in their candy.
I don't think that was a Starburst. I think that may have just been acid.
Would you like to ride the Skittles rainbow now?
And pizza with your family is best enjoyed when it's in the style of an old commercial, as seen in the Lois Quagmire.
We'll be out here eating pizza like we're in an 80s commercial.
Those commercials were always good at convincing you that all you needed for a good time was a hot pizza. Anything to take your mind off the Cold War and the impending threat of nuclear weapons. Come to think of it, we may just need pizza now more than ever. Just give me a slice and let me slip away to Margaritaville. Because, you know, it's a margarita pizza.
Pizza!
But sometimes the pizza eater becomes the pizza deliverer, and not the kind of deliverer you would expect, as seen in Chris's Got a Date.
All right, push, come on, almost there, just one more push. Here it is.
So that's how they're made. A good pizza really is a little miracle of life. Maybe we gotta start sending more funding to Domino's and Pizza Hut. I'd hate for a young pizza oven to go through that whole process without the proper support.
Oh, it's half Hawaiian.
I believe that's ours.
You poor fool.
And likewise, ice cream can sometimes be the key to finding happiness, which is a theory Stewie decides to test with Kurt Cobain in Family Guy viewer mail number 2.
I know you're depressed. made some bad choices with women, but there's another way. Haagen-Dazs.
Never underestimate the power of a good frozen treat. Some say it can help you reach a state of nirvana. So if there's something in the way, push past it and come as you are to a nice pint of ice cream. It'll make your future very ape.
Ha! You're still alive, you fat.
But not every bit of food is as welcomely received, as Peter turns down Lois's jambalaya in the most childish way possible and Brian sings and swings.
Peter. Eat your food, mister.
What's the matter, fast food boy? Afraid he might taste something? If he wants to act like a child, he'd better be prepared to be treated like a child. The next move would probably be to give him a spanking, but something tells me Peter's at the age where he might actually like that.
Put it in your napkin. Put it in your napkin. I'm not gonna...
Doesn't he know that kids are starving all around the world and would love to have some of this food? If you're thinking like kids in Africa, that's not even the worst of it. Have you seen what goes down with actor John Goodman's family?
Please, Daddy. I told you, when I'm finished, you can have what's left.
Something tells me the rest of the family isn't on Ozempic, and those sunken cheeks are the product of there never being anything left. But hey, this guy gave us great performances in The Big Lebowski, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and The Emperor's New Groove, so we can't say their sacrifice was completely for naught.
Happy Thanksgiving!
And a little chocolate is always nice, but just don't develop a dependency like Liza Minnelli in Brian Portrait of a Dog.
It's time to make life a cabaret!
Lady, for God's sake, I'm just a hard-shelled chocolate candy. Get help!
It starts with just one little taste, but pretty soon you'll need more, and after that you'll start having feelings for the green M&M. Which, I'm not blaming you. I haven't seen candy lips like that since Candy Lips. But sometimes those M&Ms stand up and take matters into their own hands, just like the red one does when Peter eats his way through a whole advent calendar and Christmas crime.
You ate my whole family, you fat One more day.
They do say eating too much candy can kill you, but I didn't think getting shot by said candy was on the table. That's why if you're gonna eat any candy that comes in multiple pieces, you gotta make sure you eat every single one. Leave no survivors. Gotta end the bloodline right then and there.
Hey, Brian, sorry about the sling. I got shot by an M&M. Anyway, how's Christmas Eve in jail?
And we've already talked about baking sad in a previous video where Meg makes delicious cookies with her tears, so in an effort not to leave this episode uncovered, here's Meg eating a Quiznos sub behind a dumpster.
Yep, looks like things are finally starting to turn around for the Margarito.
I guess we should be happy she's happy, but this should not be the highlight of anyone's day. At least get your sandwich from a Jimmy John's or a Jersey Mike's or something, not America's 11th favorite sandwich chain. But Meg might single-handedly be keeping that chain open because they're so familiar with her that they actually give her a Sky Lantern send-off when they think she's died. At least Loyalty King is the one positive thing they'd be able to put on her tombstone. And part of growing up and becoming a man means learning how to properly eat an Oreo, something Peter's obliged to teach Chris and Forefather.
Chris, the way to eat an Oreo is to twist it, pull it apart, and lick it.
Sounds like a lot of work just for a little cookie. We aren't eating crab legs here. You think I've got time in my busy day to treat an Oreo like it's a Bop It? And this process proves to be just a bit too complicated for Chris.
Now you.
But another food-related trick Peter tries to teach Chris in this episode is how to get away with not having to pay for your food at restaurants.
Waiter, there's a dead guy in my soup.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry, sir. Of course your soup is gratis.
A classic move. Finally, something to use all those dead guys you have lying around for. Just don't make the rookie mistake of using a half-dead guy. You only get your food comped if they're all the way dead.
Waiter, there's a dead guy in my...
And speaking of Oreos, Bruce is delighted to share some of his while he's teaching a CPR class in the Cleveland Loretta Quagmire.
We also got Oreos here and fresh coffee. Everybody likes a snack.
I think Bruce was kind of banking on someone choking on one of those so he could show them the real deal in this class. But French kissing a plastic dummy probably doesn't get the appetites flaring, so at least Bruce has a little something to take home.
Only a couple Oreos gone. I'm gonna take the rest home to the cats.
And the only thing better than some foods is their mascots, and Peter gets to have his dream come true when he meets the Blueberry Ghost in Dog Bites Bear.
Hey, you know what I always loved about your cereal? It tasted like blueberries. Oh my God, blueberries!
The pieces are all starting to come together now. It's clear that some half-baked marketing does work on some people. And to honor this interaction, Peter ends up getting blessed with the opportunity to shake Blueberry's hand.
I've been touched by greatness. I am never washing this hand again.
He isn't lying either. He goes this entire episode without washing it, leading to an entire microscopic biome developing on his hand. Great for science, terrible for anyone in his direct vicinity. And the only way to trick him into cleaning his hand is employing the help of another cereal icon.
Count Chocula!
That's right. Silly rabbit, Count Chocula tastes great.
He's got the catchphrase down and everything. Personally, seeing these iconic characters really has me craving some cereal after all this. But then I catch a glimpse of Peter's hand and it makes me want to swear off food for the rest of my life.
Yeah, there's a golf ball scrubber in there. Just relax and let it happen.
No! No!
And have you ever been so hungry that you just wish you had a chocolate bar? Well, as seen in Chap Stewie, the universe has mysterious ways of answering your pleas.
1.
Kinda missed the joke of it being a Milky Way bar, but Snickers are still out of this world too. Hopefully Meg realized in her final moments that her life was being given to a truly important cause. I mean, was Peter supposed to drive all the way to the gas station to get some chocolate? Let's be so for real here. But there's a time and a place for a Snickers, and as Peter points out in You Can't Handle the Booth, that time is not when the family's recording DVD commentary.
Peter, you always said you made the same as me.
I'm sorry, Lois, I couldn't hear you over Meg's Snickers wrapper.
And pay no mind to the demonic Jesus in the background blowing up the church. What you should be focused on is the sound of that wrapper and how badly you want a Snickers right now. Now that's some successful subliminal messaging. And it's time to put the kids to bed because there are no Happy Meals in Oscars, guy, only thick, juicy adultery burgers.
2 adultery burgers?
Lester! Listen, let's not make a big scene here.
So do you have to be cheating on someone to be able to order an adultery burger? How does this fast food place even check for that? They probably just smell it on you. Cheaters always have a musk of shame and sin on them. Well, dang it, now I'm hungry for a burger. Is there anyone out there who wouldn't mind being cheated on?
We need more ketchup.
All right, there's some things you can tell me to do.
And if you thought those burgers were weirdly named, the episode The Most Interesting Man in the World introduces you to a food so obscenely titled that there's no chance in hell it could ever exist in America.
Balzac. Homo erectus. Spotted dick.
If you say so, man. For the Americans in the audience, that's a British-style dessert, a pudding containing dried fruit that's usually served with custard. There really is a whole other world out there that you may have no clue about. But yeah, there's no chance they could fully integrate this dessert into America. It would probably sell well just from juvenile teenage boys buying it for a laugh.
I always thought spotted dick had something to do with Morgan Freeman.
And if you happen to be watching this on a Tuesday, take this as your sign to have a Taco Tuesday feast like what the family's housekeeper Alana makes in All About Alana.
That night, we all ate tacos and nachos that were so good, we stood and cheered.
You ever have a meal so good that you just have to stand up and applaud? Honestly, I stand and salute whenever I get to experience a Taco Tuesday. It's perhaps America's greatest creation and should be made a weekly holiday. So that's what's going on at the Griffins, but what's on the menu over at the Swansons?
Here, Joe. Barely thawed trout and white rice.
The trout is the lucky one. He didn't have to live to see himself become a depression meal for a failing marriage. And in an effort to show Lois how easy her day-to-day work is in trading places, Meg whips up a dinner fit for a fancy restaurant.
Grilled asparagus, couscous, and for dessert, molten chocolate lava cake.
That is a lot of work for a family that absolutely does not deserve it. But I guess if your entire day just revolves around an hour's worth of cleaning, then you might as well go all out. And in case you were wondering, Binging with Babish also remade this, and the results were much better than that sinful panini.
That is really good. See what happens when you give your daughter a chance instead of just hate on her all the time?
And there's never a bad time to stop and get yourself a chocolate Toblerone, even when time is of the essence, like in And Then There's Fraud.
We shouldn't have stopped for that airport Toblerone.
We had to. It's like European shark teeth.
So that's how you're supposed to eat it. I was eating it with the peak stabbing me straight on the roof of my mouth. I thought the bleeding was all part of the Toblerone experience, but the correct way to eat a Toblerone is with friends, as demonstrated by the band NSYNC in the episode Family Guy Viewer Mail number 1.
Hey, do you want to split a Toblerone?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I think I do.
It's nice to know that these celebrities are just like us. And I thought my green room was well stocked. Your guys' green rooms are probably the same, right? Who does your agent contact for stocking chocolate? I've been needing a new dealer.
Woo woo! Next stop, my thighs.
But if you're one of those few who wish we could go back to the good old days of hunting for our food, just know that Peter is way ahead of you in the Peanut Butter Kid.
This'll look great in my study.
Wait, he's trophy hunting? Not for survival? Peter has truly lost his way. Then again, some areas are seeing a huge overpopulation spike in pizzas, so at least Peter's doing his part to keep the population in check.
I'm a hunter, but I'm a silly hunter.
But if you're looking to see some grade A cooking, look no further than Glenn Quagmire, who got to show off his skills on his own cooking show and Pilling Them Softly.
I'm trying to turn this place into a gastropub. These are Korean tacos, cause whatever the hell nowadays.
So after Quagmire isn't impressed by Jerome's new bar food, he assures the guys that he can cook up a much better meal.
I am a good cook, and I'll prove it to you. Saturday night, you and all your wives are coming to my place for dinner.
Just, maybe bring a few of those strips that can detect substances in your drink. Not saying you're gonna need them, but you can't really be too safe around this guy, can ya? But Quagmire stays true to his word and actually ends up cooking a pretty impressive spread.
Well, as a young man, I found that a great meal was the quickest way to a woman's heart.
How romantic.
Funny, because I always thought the heart of a woman was pretty far down the list of body parts Quagmire was interested in. So what's he got here? Paella, meat pies, kebabs, some kind of seafood stew, and a souffle. I don't even know where to buy prawns, so he's already light years ahead of me. And it just so happens that the new station is looking for someone to spearhead a cooking show, something Quagmire would happily take on.
Cedar plank salmon with a maple glaze and slow-roasted cherry tomatoes on a bed of mesclun greens.
Looks absolutely delicious. And don't worry, despite being a clam, I have no hang-ups about eating my water-dwelling brethren, especially salmon. Just swim downstream like the rest of us, you idiots. So Quagmire gets the gig and starts injecting some food culture into our peon brains.
Now, this mince pie is about ready to go, just needs a pinch of cinnamon.
And while we're at it, how about we take this cinnamon challenge?
Oh yeah, and Peter's there. I guess the network thought they needed someone wacky alongside the cooking so people would pay attention. Just think of Peter as the Subway Surfers footage played alongside your TikTok so your pea brain can stay stimulated. It's a shame because all of Quagmire's food sounds delicious, but it's hard to pay attention whenever Peter's involved.
Then you're going to want to add the duck breasts, seal the bag, and refrigerate that for at least 1 hour.
Peter, I'm trying to focus on the duck breasts, not the other kind of breasts. And eventually, Peter's meddling becomes too much for Quagmire to handle.
We just spoon on the drippings, and that'll brown the skin nicely.
If you bang these metal spoons on everything, it's like stomp.
I think the only kind of stomping Quagmire has on his mind right now involves Peter biting down on the sidewalk. Well, it was fun while it lasted, but I guess Quagmire's cooking will just have to remain reserved for the women he tricks into coming home with him. And what's worse than cheating on your wife? Cheating on her cooking, which is exactly what Peter gets up to when he starts going to Bonnie's and Cootie and the Blowhard.
Man, something smells good in here. You cooking Brussels sprouts?
No, I just farted.
That checks out.
But it turns out Bonnie was cooking something, a nice glazed roast. This is the equivalent of your neighbor's wife showing you a little leg from across the street, and Peter does not have the strength or fortitude to resist.
Holy crap! That's the best thing I've ever had!
And with Joe gone on a stakeout, it would be wrong to just leave Bonnie alone to eat all of her hard work herself. And it's not like Lois needs to know. After all, Peter is a master of discretion and deceit. Yep, she doesn't suspect a thing. But if you take one bite from the apple of temptation, it makes every other food put in front of you look like crap.
Peter, what's wrong? You don't have an appetite.
I'm gonna get one. Just give me a minute.
You can't rush these things at his age, though they might have a pill for that. I guess he could just go with All Reliable and imagine he's eating someone else's food.
Oh, this is better, Bonnie.
Did you just call me Bonnie?
No! God, no!
Why would Peter ever be thinking about Bonnie? All she's got is excellent cooking skills, decadent plating, always gets the spices just right. Give me a few minutes. I'm gonna go have a snack and think about Bonnie's cooking too.
What if you spun the plate around, Dad? Tried it from behind.
Meg, go to place.
But Peter's desires soon start coming to his front doorstep, making it even more difficult to hide his disloyalty from his family.
And I know you like wagon wheel pasta.
Of course I like wagon wheel pasta. I'm an adult with a developmental disorder.
Is that what he calls it? Surely he has enough shame not to partake in this right outside, and he's chowing down.
Okay, fine, but we gotta do this quick, right here against the wall.
Come on, it's the middle of the day. Lunch does not need to be this kinky. So Peter tries his best to keep his eating with Bonnie under the table, which is exactly where he ends up needing to hide when Joe comes home.
I ate most of his dinner? He's gonna be so pissed, I better hide.
I think he's gonna be more suspicious of the fact that Bonnie's making a whole turkey on a random Wednesday. I know you guys do not have the funds to be eating like that. Also, how come we never see Kevin or Susie at the table? Do they just get the scraps shoved under their door for them?
This can never happen again, Bonnie. Time for a poignant cinematic farewell.
So Peter decides to cut things off with Bonnie, going back to exclusively eating Lois's food. Godspeed, man. That is truly a Herculean task.
This smells amazing.
Yeah, it's eggs and garlic. I microwaved them till they were mixed.
But every now and then, the family would work up the courage to critique Lois's cooking, as seen in a bottle episode.
Okay, so this dinner's not one of her best efforts, right?
Big whiff.
I agree. Okay, let's pile that on too.
Yeah, it's about time that housewife gets taken down a peg. Of course, the family had to wait until Lois was already doing something bad so they could just add it on top. It's the only way to get away with criticizing her and not ending up with your head in the oven.
And it was sputtering to a finish.
It made an audible thud when you put it down.
I hated tonight's chicken.
And the episode Veteran Guy shows that there are plenty of benefits to being in the Coast Guard, especially if you're big on Italian restaurant chains.
Because we're in the Coast Guard. And when you're here, you're family.
Because if you're going to need to save lives in the open water, you want to make sure you're carbo-loaded, bloated to all hell on bottomless pasta. Because why would you want to just swim when you could be swimming with a cramp?
That food was all very salty.
Unfortunately, it appears that endless pasta and breadsticks might be the only things you're allowed to eat in the Coast Guard. They must owe Italy a lot of money.
All right, everybody freeze! This is the U.S. Coast Guard. And when you're here, you're family.
Hopefully those guys can wait on being arrested while they take a much-deserved pasta break. Doesn't really seem to help the guys out, but luckily Quagmire comes in with the save. Only he's looking a little peckish.
And when you're here...
Oh, no, don't say it!
Yeah, I think they finally found the elusive bottom of the bottomless pasta. And sometimes fast food just hits the spot, but other times you have to settle and eat Arby's, something even the executives of Arby's don't enjoy, as seen in Disney's The Reboot.
Hey, what's going on in that room?
It's a focus group of Arby's executives watching us eat.
Because sometimes you just like to go to the zoo and see how the animals beneath you eat. Meg in particular catches the executives' attention, daring to do what no sane human would do and have a second big beef and cheddar.
Damn it!
Much like how God stays in heaven because he fears what he has created, so too do the executives behind Arby's. Arby's, we have the meats and blood on our hands. And eating a disgusting amount of food can also be a positive, like when Chris harnessed his appetite to win a hot dog eating contest in Killer Queen.
This is what we've been working for. If you get nervous, just picture the audience naked and slide those hot dogs down your throat.
I like a good hot dog as much as the next guy, but to go to the lengths that these guys go? I do not hate my body enough or love my country enough to guzzle glizzies like the pros do. But it turns out Chris might just possess the throat to be the GOAT at this kind of thing. All he needs is the right motivation.
Remember what I told you. I get these weird cyst things right on the fringe of my sack.
Man, if my dad had told me that when I was younger, maybe I too could have been a pro athlete. And that's just the right amount of wisdom Chris needs to propel himself forward and overtake the hot dog eating champion.
We have a winner! Ladies and gentlemen, Yamamoto has finally been defeated!
And now Chris gets the honor of holding that championship belt high for a few days before the inevitable heart attack takes him out and they need to find a new champion. And in Into Fat Air, the family's invited over to the Fishmans for a nice dinner, which is only nice until Peter gets his hands on it.
Did you make all of this yourself?
Yeah, I just got home from work, put down the lawyer's briefcase, and put on the chef's hat.
Wow, really making Lois looks like she spends most of the day in a coma. I will say though, shrimp scampi and a whole roasted bird? You're doing too much, lady. Just pick a lane. But of course, Peter starts to feel emasculated next to Ross Fishman, so he challenges him to an oiled-up, shirt-off pose-off.
Pass the salad dressing. Oh no, it's an almost empty squeeze bottle. Hang on.
Oh, so he wants this to be an Italian-style pose-off. But the only way to one-up the Fishmans is to beat them at their own game, which just happens to involve climbing Mount Everest. Now, don't get mad at us, but there is one more thing that the family eats in this episode that can technically be considered a meal.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about this.
Oh, I thought we decided. I'm sorry.
Yep, while climbing down Everest, the family ends up eating the dead and frozen son of Ross Fishman, who got lost on the hike. And hey, now Peter has an accomplishment that Ross couldn't do. You gotta take your little victories any place you can find them.
You're a good man.
All right, you rest up, get better, we ate your son. Bring it up!
And no show has got the world hankering for a $20 sandwich quite like FX's The Bear, which Family Guy would parody in a real Who's Hulu.
The previous chef only cooked with fewer edits and quieter music, so therefore, I resent this change.
It's hard to beat the experience of walking into a rundown deli that smells like cigarettes and ordering the wettest sandwich you've ever had in your life. Some people just gotta ruin a good thing. Have you seen how these high-end chefs operate? I'm pretty sure they don't even like food.
Yes, chef.
It should look like 2 grains of rice served on a door.
But food is meant to bring people together, which is why Peter takes his family to Fuddruckers and Are You There, God? It's Me, Peter, but they don't seem to understand the restaurant's potential.
Yeah, getting to design any burger you want? Your only limit is your imagination. What kind you make there for yourself, Chris?
Plain.
I get it. Fuddruckers offers too many options, too many combinations. The power to make the burger of your dreams? It's a grave power, not meant for most mortals. One day you're making the burger you want, and the next you're stealing the car that you want. It's a slippery slope.
At least Meg went wild and got a beige burger.
No, I got chicken.
What? Here?
That's like ordering a burger at Chick-fil-A. They take you out back and beat you if you tried something like that. Needless to say, the family did not understand the assignment, and Peter's brain just couldn't handle it.
Silverware? Put 'em on. Salt shaker? Whatever. Ice from soda? Get on that burger.
Peter, people are staring.
They've just never seen a true master of the burger arts at work. And there's a good reason for that, because most burger masters are clinically insane.
That's Fuddruckers.
Peter, you've opened the trunk. People are pulling things out of our car.
And don't let a menu ever limit you from getting what you want. Be sure to badger your waiter about every individual ingredient they have to convince them they can make your order, like Peter does in the D in Apartment 23.
I'll have the shepherd's pie.
I'm sorry, but that's not on the menu.
Well, do you have potatoes?
Yes.
And he ends up listing all of the ingredients. He doesn't mention spit, but I have a feeling after this, there's gonna be a lot of that in his meal. Did he ever consider that no one in the back knows how to make a shepherd's pie? That's like a whole different world of culinary expertise. Just order your $80 steak like a normal person and move on.
Lightsaber? Remember when we did Star Wars?
And don't let anyone shame you out of ordering dessert, especially if the alternative is eating faces like in The Old Man and the Big C.
And then we have a chocolate cake that's infused with chocolate, served with chocolate ice cream and a molten chocolate topping.
Okay, and is there anything for people that just like chocolate and don't want to tie chocolate to the bed and have their way with it? I guess if you're splitting it 4 ways with your gals, it's not as horrendous. On second thought... And when Peter's booted from the show, he decides to not let it get him down and gets ready to make a classic Depression dinner in Inside Family Guy.
I was just about to melt some cheese on chips if you want to stay for a sad single guy dinner.
You go in oven or microwave?
Bold of you to assume Peter knows how to use an oven. Those microwave nachos are about to be the saddest thing you've ever seen. So sad that I fear it'll actually ruin my relationships if I even look at them. Let's just move on while my family still likes me.
Those chips are going to be chewy, Peter.
And if you think you're excited for the McRib to return, you may not have anything on the excitement of the Griffins as seen in #JOLO. Somehow I think this nudges the second coming of Jesus out of their top moment in history that they can't wait for. I mean, I've had a McRib. It's okay, but to the Griffins, it's apparently life-saving.
Lois, it's back!
I heard, Peter. I heard!
Kids, it's happening! Get your coats!
But who are we to look down upon a family getting excited for fast food? As long as they keep it civil. None of that Szechuan sauce nonsense this time.
I love you too, sweetheart! None of the past matters!
And if you can't believe it's not butter, nothing holds a candle to Peter's inability to accept this margarine replacement and Brian's play.
What? I can't.
Apparently believing there's a passable substitute for butter out there is like staring straight into the eyes of Cthulhu himself. I think most people would be mildly happy about it, but this apparently shatters Peter's entire worldview. If this is true, then what else could be true? Aliens? Demons? A good season 23 episode?
I don't know, Doctor. Looking back, I think it may have been real butter.
Your husband murdered 3 children.
And if you're in the market for a cracker that will absolutely wreck your gums and the roof of your mouth, then Peter's got just the right pitch for you in Girl Interneted.
Is it good?
The recipe's right on the box.
Yeah, but is it good?
You can make them with ingredients you probably already have in the house.
Look at Triscuits acting like you'd be willing to stoop so low as to use their crackers for mini pizzas. If it ever comes to that point for me, I'm gonna assume a nuke has devastated the rest of the world and this is all I could scrounge up.
Triscuits. Make sure you have a drink nearby.
And you may think there's a reason Peter loves the strip clubs, but as we see in How the Griffin Stole Christmas, it's probably not the reason you're thinking of.
Bye, strippers! You can all take your clothes off now. I was just coming in for the spaghetti.
Turns out those places have pretty good food. I guess with the invention of the internet, you're gonna need to give the clientele something that can't just be experienced on a website. Hopefully they have lots of sanitary wipes on hand. Things get saucy over there, but they shouldn't get this kind of saucy.
Spaghetti angel! I'm making a spaghetti angel!
But we've never heard of a pasta dish called Noodle Caboodle, though according to Brian and Brian in Love, Lois makes an absolutely stellar one.
Better than Italy.
It's just my noodle caboodle. I did use a different brand of potato chips for the crust, though.
I think any true-blooded Italian would beat you over the head with a brick if they heard you desecrating your pasta like that. To each their own, I guess. You people wouldn't even be able to comprehend the struggle meals I've had to endure.
Hey, what are these hard things?
M&M's. I ran out of paprika.
Magnificent.
And it shouldn't be a shock that Chris and Meg get 2 entirely different packed lunches, but we still weren't expecting they'd be as depressing as the ones in Steroids.
PB&J with the crust cut off. What'd you get?
Your crusts.
Well, at least Lois isn't wasteful. Use every part of the buffalo, I say. Just maybe don't rub in your daughter's face that she isn't getting the good parts of the buffalo.
I also got an orange peel and a picture of Mom eating a turkey leg.
And I hope you finished and digested the food you've been eating for this episode, because it's time to close things off with a hearty soup from 8 Simple Rules for Buying My Teenage Daughter that's sure to, you know what, maybe just turn away now.
Who wants chowder?
My sentiments exactly. For too long, my kind has fallen to the fate of a clam chowder, and hopefully you guys have gotten to know me well enough that the thought of eating a clam fills you with sickness as well. Right? Right? But what's your favorite Family Guy food moment? Let us know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button if you want to see even more Family Guy videos.